These are three of the greatest players in Premier League history. And what you can see is that their goals and assists all decline in their 30s. But then there's Mohamed Salah. He's 32 and he's performing better than he ever has done before. And that's led to a lot of conversation because he's scoring more than most people's GOAT, Thierry Henry, in his best season ever. And so the biggest question of all must be asked. Is Mohamed Salah the greatest Premier League player of all time? And if he isn't just yet, then what does he need to do to become the Premier League GOAT? Now, I've always dodged the Premier League GOAT debate until now, because something has changed. There are a few players within the debate. Now, most people agree it's Thierry Henry, and I'd be inclined to agree with that. You've also got the likes of Wayne Rooney, Alan Shearer, Eden Hazard, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Kevin De Bruyne. There's a whole host of names in the conversation, and as incredible as they were, nobody has come close to Thierry Henry. For years, he stood alone, unmatched, undisputed. But now, Mo Salah is breaking that narrative. His unbelievable performances this season bring him right next to Thierry Henry in the debate. But what would it take for Salah to take over Henry and become the GOAT of the Premier League? Well, we've collected unbiased data to actually answer this once and for all. Right, so first of all, let's have a look at the bottom line numbers between the two players. Salah dominates in two key stats that play a huge role in the debate for me, beating Henry in total goals and assists. Mohamed Salah has played more 90s, more minutes, and made more starts than Henry, whilst also playing a larger percentage of the minutes when available. But Henry has completed more full matches than Salah. Taking that into account, then, the stats begin to swing massively in Henry's favour when they're converted to 90 minutes. On top of that, add in the fact that Henry totaled 8 Premier League hat-tricks in fewer games played than Salah, who scored 4. The consistency between the two players becomes pretty clear. So Henry has outscored Salah for goals in 5 separate seasons when you go year by year during their time in the Premier League. But these are basic stats which people typically use, understandably, to form the top line of GOAT debates. But there's a deeper level to this debate that we just have to unpack to do this properly. So when you start digging that little bit deeper and have a look at the cumulative total of goal involvements for a single season, what you see is that Salah and Henry are there twice. Andy Cole and Alan Shearer are also there, but these were in 42 game seasons. Salah is currently equaling Henry's best ever season of 44 goals and assists at the time of recording. But these are just numbers. What about the context? Salah has scored 9 penalties this season at the time of recording. Henry, in his 44 goal involvement season, only scored 4. And that therefore creates another argument to open play goals holding more value to some people than penalties. Again, a truly understandable point to be made. But these are purely numbers, and this isn't a video about the highest number wins. It's about who's the greatest. Can numbers actually define a player? Let's do some more digging, shall we? Okay, so if you look up the definition of great, you will find this: of an extent, amount, or intensity considerably above average. So as you can see there, it's often defined into 3 key aspects: amount, intensity, and extent. And so far, we've covered the amount with their totals, we've covered intensity with their best single seasons, but let's talk about extent. Extent is one that we're yet to cover, and one that moves the needle drastically. Because when we're talking about extent, we're talking about accomplishments. What these two have accomplished as part of their respective teams often elevates their status in the conversation so much. So when it comes to these two, what is the extent of each of their success? What has their success led to, and who had the greater impact? As it stands, subject to change of course, Henry outranks Salah in Premier League titles, Team of the Year inclusions, and Footballers of the Year, and the Premier League Player of the Season awards. And actually there's one aloof accolade that Salah might not ever have. A golden Premier League trophy earned for winning the Premier League title without losing a single game as part of the Invincibles. And yes, I know they drew 12 games, but they didn't lose any. And that's unique. But one legendary season isn't enough for GOAT status. That's why Meet You isn't in the GOAT debate. So what if dominance over multiple seasons is? Because this is where Salah begins to flip the script. Longevity and intensity often counteract each other. It's almost impossible to hold up the same levels of intensity for a span of a whole career. And Thierry Henry put up seven incredible seasons in the Premier League where he was undoubtedly the best. What about if you have someone who may not immediately be considered the best, however, puts up ridiculous numbers for a longer period of time? Does the longevity of a player like Salah outweigh the intensity of Henry? A lot of you will say no. Well, hear me out. Because there are a few different ways of looking at longevity. Stats over the course of multiple seasons is one. But the biggest aspect of both of these players' longevity may be the records that they broke and how long it will be before anyone breaks those records in the future. And this is where the argument for Salah becomes stronger. In 2024, Salah was directly involved in 39 Premier League goals. The only player to have a better year in Liverpool's history, and remember this is Liverpool's history, with all the legends that they've had over the years, is Mo Salah in 2018 with 40. Salah has the most games with a goal and an assist in a single Premier League season, with 12. Look at his competitors in this debate. They're not even close to him. In terms of stepping up in more difficult environments, Salah has the most away goal involvements in a single season in Premier League history, and that's from this season and counting. And finally, Salah has got into double digits for goals and assists for 8 consecutive seasons. Do you know the only person who has achieved more? Lionel Messi. Obviously not in the Premier League. Get the point. Salah is averaging a goal or assist at a faster rate than any player in Premier League history, and when it circles back to that word of longevity and how long it'll take for these records to be broken, take a look at these projections. Even players who played in a 42 league game season, they don't get close, and crucially, neither does Thierry Henry. So with all these unbreakable records under Salah's belt, an impending Premier League title, and what we can only assume to be quite a few Player of the Year awards and a Golden Boot on its way into the Salah cabinet, what does that actually mean for the GOAT debate? Where was Henry at 32? He was at New York Red Bulls in MLS. Henry leaving when he did in 2007 was retrospectively probably the best thing that he could have done for his Premier League legacy, cementing those glory years and making his time in the Premier League age-proof. By staying at Arsenal when they were just about to take a downturn in form, I think it could have meant that he continued to post great numbers, but doing it in a failing team, or even worse, not posting those great numbers. That would have decreased the intensity of his time in the Premier League and his success in the Premier League. Thierry Henry played in a team that peaked at the same time as he did, and it was built to win Premier League matches, or more importantly, not to lose many. And of course, part of that ability to achieve not losing games, winning titles, is down to someone like Thierry Henry's impact in-game. Whereas on the other hand, Salah didn't have this perk. First, he was arriving in the Premier League playing for a manager and a club who didn't really want him in Chelsea, then being brought back into the league to play in a team that, yeah, of course, had title ambitions, but they weren't in a position to immediately achieve it. So despite posting ridiculous numbers in consecutive seasons, that sort of gloss of Salah having a trophy cabinet that was at the same level of Thierry Henry's wasn't there. He was dealt the short straw because of the existence of Manchester City, a club that may have single-handedly stopped Salah's pursuit of GOAT status. But truth be told, has that stopped him? Or has this season been the tip of the iceberg that makes us realise what we're dealing with here? The GOAT debate is fun because it's not straightforward. It's not trophies, it's not numbers, it's a mix of different factors and what those factors mean to you. That's what shapes the debate for you. If trophies were all that mattered, Ryan Giggs would be the GOAT. If goals were all that mattered, Alan Shearer would be the GOAT. And if longevity was all that mattered, Gareth Barry would be the GOAT, because he's played more Premier League games than anyone else. And the truth here is that one single number or metric can't be used to define a GOAT, but actually digging deep and looking at all possible angles is what has to be done. At the moment, in my opinion, I still believe Thierry Henry to be the GOAT because of the magic that he possessed. The watermark of which he hit, the ceiling he hit as a player, was just outrageously majestic in its way. And so that's far more of a feeling situation. But that could change. Mohamed Salah could absolutely be the GOAT of the Premier League. And this is how he does it. If he stays at Liverpool and continues to post these numbers and continues to win another Premier League title or a couple of other titles as well, then the numbers at some point, alongside the longevity, begin to dwarf and outweigh the brilliance of Thierry Henry, in my opinion. 3 more years of Mohamed Salah at this level at Liverpool, and I think it changes hands. But what do you think? Does Salah have a chance of leaving the Premier League as the GOAT?